Welcome to the commentary booth, where we watch and you guessed it, commentate on the week that was in movies and TV. I'm your host and play-by-play commentator Jamie Apps, and each week I'm joined by a rotating cast of co-hosts to help you find your next viewing treat. This week I'm joined by a DJ who lists his favourite movie as Top Gun Maverick and favourite TV show as Parks and Rec. Welcome to the show, our marvellous Mr. Marvel, Jaxon Carr.
Hey mate, how's it going?
Not too bad. How's everything there? Sounds like there's a jet taking off over your head.
Yeah mate, I'm just living near the airport, so there's a lot of planes that go over during the day, so it makes me really feel like I want to go overseas, but I'm here, busy, very busy though. Also, I think we're changing my favourite movie again, because I watched The Gentleman the other week, and that's back at number one.
And then they're making a Gentleman TV series, so that can be your favourite TV show as well.
And Vinnie Jones is going to be in it. It's going to be hectic. As long as those suits that Colin Farrell wears make a comeback, will be good.
This week we've got a lot of catching up to do with Jaxon. However, before we dive into that, the big thing we have to review is the final entry into Phase 4 of the MCU, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and then we'll go on to chat about possibly one of the worst TV shows I've ever watched, Netflix's Blockbuster. So, first up, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, the 30th film in the MCU, directed by Ryan Coogler as a direct sequel to 2018's Black Panther. This time around, we revisit the secretive nation of Wakanda as they are fighting to protect their home from intervening world powers and a new foe, whilst also trying to mourn the death of King T'Challa. And then obviously the main question with this movie has been, who is the Black Panther going to be in the wake of Chadwick Boseman's tragic passing? Overall, what did you think of this movie, Jaxon?
I absolutely loved it. I thought it was really well done, especially with obviously the death of Chadwick and how they did that. I thought the intro was just perfect, even though there was people around us making noise. All I have to say is, in this movie, make sure you're on time, or if you're going to be late, be 10 minutes late, because the first bit's very nice and you don't really want to interrupt the moments of silence, but I thought it was really well done. All the actors were fantastic, and there was a few CGI things, as we discussed, that were a bit off, but besides that, I thought it was a very, very good sequel. I think they did it very well, very classy.
Yeah, it definitely has a sudden opening. You need to be, like you said, on time and paying attention from the very outset, which I liked. And then they transition into the Marvel intro logo that we always get, but this time it was sort of done in its own unique way, where instead of just having clips from all of the MCU movies, these are only T'Challa and Chadwick Boseman, and it's purple instead of the traditional red and white, which I thought was another really nice tribute, alongside all of the moments of silence where there's no dialogue, no music. It's just it's like a proper funeral, I guess.
You have your moment of silence and stuff, but they're still playing it, and it was, as we said, very nice touch.
I'm also really glad that the only time we see Chadwick is this intro sequence. They avoided the typical thing that we've been seeing a lot recently, now that technology is where it is, where if an actor suddenly passes away while in the middle of a storyline or a series, they'll just do a digital recreation and use their voice and CGI to continue them in the role. I like that they didn't do that. We just dive straight in. Chadwick and T'Challa are gone. Let's move on with this story and move on to the next phase of the Black Panther.
It's funny saying that and talking about Top Gun and hearing an airplane now. In Top Gun Maverick, they brought Val Kilmer in, and it was only using because he's still alive, but parts of his voice from other movies and whatnot. Whereas I thought that was kind of like forced. It was nice to have him in it, but like they kind of forced that. Whereas like with this they completely kept it off. They're like, yep, we're done. Like he's done. Let's move on, but still like pay nice tributes to him throughout the movie. So very emotional, but very good.
And then, like, with the cast, what did you think of? We had the returning cast, Letitia Wright as Shuri, Angela Bassett as the Queen Mother Ramonda. I thought those two, their performances pretty much carry this movie on their backs. And it's like, I feel it was pretty obvious that they were using real-world grief and feelings of loss and bringing that through in the characters, which I thought gave them a believability that they perhaps wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah, definitely. Like as you see, like with other movies and stuff, where there's a sequel and someone dies, yeah, like they still like lack, like as you said, that real world mourning and whatnot. But yeah, they really brought that in and really made the characters pop, and you could see them. They were a step above, I found, than the characters that they introduced, or the actors and actresses that they introduced, the new ones. As in, you could really see like the difference between them both.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, some of those new characters. Dominic Thorne as Riri Williams, who goes on to become Ironheart, and Tenoch Huerta as Namor. I thought they were both really good introductions, but yeah, Namor is such an awesome new addition to the MCU as both an actor from Tenoch and Namor as a character.
Marvel just keep bringing in good. I don't know. It's credit to them, and I guess it's a credit to such a successful business franchise, whatnot. Just the actors and the characters they bring in are really powerful, and it's like wow, like there's some real badasses in them on both sides. So it's really well. I don't know it's why they're so successful, and they make billions of dollars every year. Is the fact that they keep like introducing characters that really come in and are really effective, and the actors really seem to mesh well with their other actors and stuff, and some powerful performances. That's for sure.
I thought a cool thing with Tenoch that I found out afterwards is when he was cast in this role, which is basically MCU Aquaman, he couldn't swim before he got this role, so he had to learn how to swim because he spends a lot of time in water. And he also learned a Mayan language in preparation for the role to give it a bit more authenticity, and I thought he did a great job of bringing that to this character.
That's the thing. When he was talking, I thought that like I don't know what the language now say mine. Like I thought he was like fluent in it and naturally spoken. So once again, just goes to show the power of the actors that they bring in. That he absolutely nailed it. Like the swimming as well. He looked like he was a natural swimmer. It was Eric the Eel 2.0, and he was just great. But yeah, as you said in it, Marvel did a better job bringing in Aquaman than DC did.
What did you think of like the idea of this character who is, like I said, pretty much MCU Aquaman, but for me, I think Marvel has done Aquaman better in this one movie than DC has ever done with an Aquaman across, 4, 5 movies?
Yeah, see, I've never seen the real-life DC Aquaman. The only Aquaman that I think is good is Vincent Chase from Entourage, and he absolutely nails it. But, yeah, like, based on all the reviews, and it's just this Aquaman from Marvel looks a lot better than what DC ever did. I don't know if that's Marvel bias coming into my life, and I only see the occasional DC movies, but if, like, Marvel did, like, a spin-off and did their own one, I'd be like, yeah, I didn't see it straight away, and he was a badass. He was so good. I really like bad guys in movies, and I thought he was a really good bad. I was, like, cheering for him a bit, but he was a really good bad guy.
Yeah, I think that's what makes a great bad guy. Someone that, when they do give you the backstory of why they are the way they are, you can see like a justification for what they're doing, which I think is what they've done really well here. I liked his like powers of being able to control sea creatures and swimming incredibly fast. I also liked how they gave the Talokans like the mermaid siren song ability, where they kind of just like sing this weird tune which turns people into like hypnotized, and they kind of just dive into the water to their own death. Although I wasn't a fan of his silly little ankle wings. I thought they were a bit dumb, but apart from that, I loved every part about the character.
Yeah, those was like, I just thought it was a bit much. Like besides the some weird CGIs, that was probably the only thing I didn't really like about the movie. But yeah, no, it was like the hypnotizing stuff and just seeing them like just walking off the ship. I was like, man, wish I could control people like that. Come to the Mali, come to the Mali, come to the bank. Be great.
It'd be handy little ability to have, wouldn't it?
Promoter in the world.
And you mentioned some of the CGI being a bit dodgy. I think this is a trend we're seeing with Marvel at the moment because they're making so many things. The CGI artists are just getting swamped with the amount of things they have to make, and it's leading to like the detriment of the quality of what they're making. Like most of this was fine, but there was a few moments where it was like jarringly bad, particularly the scene where M'Baku is speaking to his fellow tribesmen in front of the Wakandan city and like palace, and it was very clearly either a green screen or filmed in the volume with this fake projected wall behind it, and I was like, oh, that's really pulling me out of the moment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, just watching that, I was like so engrossed in the movie, and then you just see that, and you're just like, and you just can't get out of your head for like a minute or two, and then you get back into it. But like losing that rhythm, you don't really ever want to do that in like a movie. Like, you know that obviously it's all CGI and green screen, but yeah, just a little bit just jars you for a bit, and you're like, oh. And then like, because the movie was so long, I think at that point I really needed to pee as well. And then I was just like, oh no, I'm thinking about this again, I'm not thinking about that. And I was like, oh no. And then I forgot about peeing, and the movie kept on going. But like that minute or two when I wasn't paying attention, I was like, ugh, and people kept on leaving to go to the toilet, and I was like, ugh. But it was fine after that. We made it through.
Yeah, like it pulls you out of it. You stop focusing on what they're saying or what they're doing, and you're just looking at this background being like, that's clearly fake. How can we not make this better? But then like we'll go to when they go down to Talakan, and like they're swimming through the ocean and going through all these like caves and tunnels and stuff, and then they come across the underwater city. That looks amazing. But then contrasting those two sequences, you're like, oh, I can see where they spent all their time, and then this last little green screen volume bit was like, oh, quick, let's just pop this in because we have to. Yeah.
And some of the edits, and then like at the very end, there was like a fire, and like they threw something in the fire, and it was like you could clearly see that they didn't. So,
and it's weird that like these issues are popping up with this movie because it was delayed like quite significantly. So you would have thought that they had a bit more time to sit there and work on these things and perfect them a bit more than they perhaps would have. But I don't know. It just, those bits
just the Marvel factory
really pulled me out of
you've got this much time,
what was otherwise a really, really enjoyable movie.
I do recommend it. Like, as much as these parts were a little bit bad, overall it didn't damage it too much. It wasn't like tacky as shit. Like, it was still a very enjoyable movie. So,
yep. And then plot-wise, what did you think of like the whole story of basically them dealing with their grief and trying to move forward as a nation without their king and protector? Obviously, we have to work out who's going to take over. I thought anytime we were in Wakanda or Talokan, following those interconnected, very small, I guess, stories rather than broad worldwide battles, I thought that was awesome. But then anytime we went over to, was it Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Martin Freeman in the B plot, which is like pretty much only there to make sure this movie connects into the rest of the MCU as we move forward, that bit sucked. I hated any time we went over to those two.
I never thought I'd see the day that I'd see my dear Elaine in a plot and I didn't enjoy it. But besides the ending of Seinfeld, this was up there as one of the worst things she's done, and just, yeah, it's absolutely, as you're right, it didn't make sense. And like, I don't think they needed it. They could have done without it and then just had like the two worlds and had it connected. But I guess you sometimes just need to do these things.
especially now where like we know Black Panther is in the MCU universe. Like we don't need these B plot stories to connect them. Like we know that there's some sort of connection there. We know that there's dialogue back and forth. Like at the start, Ramonda goes to a UN meeting and is talking to them. Like that's all we needed. We didn't need to continually go back to this power struggle, I guess, for the superhero bureau, basically.
That's the thing. I thought the movie was probably about 20 minutes to half an hour too long, and that is the bit that probably made it too long. Like, if they got rid of those two, it would have made the movie spot on. Like, I've read a few reviews and I've seen a few people agreeing that like it just seems like it's a bit too long, and it was that point. If they got rid of that, perfect synergy of a movie. Start with the UN. Don't need to go to the surface area. Don't need to see any humans. Just do that and perfect.
Yeah, like cut that out and you get down to like that 130 minute mark, whereas at present it's currently clocking in at 161 minutes, which makes it the second longest MCU movie behind Avengers Endgame, which was 181 minutes, but it's the longest solo MCU movie.
Yeah, just a bit too long.
And there was only one post-credit scene too, which was a bit surprising, but the one post-credit scene that they do have is, wow, powerful.
Yeah, very powerful. Like, yeah, watching that, I was like, oh wow, this is so good. And then, yeah, we're just sitting there, and then there was no more. There was just like, oh, okay, I could have left like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, like we've been getting two. There's normally the mid-credit and post-credit, but this one just has this one scene, which was a great post-credit scene, but yeah, I expected a second one to kickstart Phase 5, which begins in, 3 months?
Yeah. Eternally young, Paul Rudd.
A couple of other things that stood out to me was the soundtrack, again, was fantastic. I don't think it quite hit the highs of the original Black Panther, but I think the lighting and the way that they use lighting and just framing to set the tone for each scene, I thought that was incredibly well done. Even though it is dark in spots, it's not Game of Thrones final season dark where you sit there going, I can't see anything, this is dumb. Like, it's dark but still visually readable.
I Shazammed, I think, like 2 or 3 of the songs in it as well. So the soundtrack for me was spot on.
I'm glad the soundtrack was as good as it was still, like, because last time we had Kendrick Lamar involved in the soundtrack. This time we didn't, but for them to still manage to sort of keep that same sort of style and be a really incredible watch and listen was still great. Like I said, it didn't meet the same heights, but it was still a really enjoyable soundtrack that I think is going to have a lot of songs that get played a bit more often now.
Yeah, definitely.
Trivia-wise, we're recording on Friday, so just over 24 hours since the movie came out. They've already made $10.1 million, which is huge. Like, they've still got this whole first weekend, so they're going to make an absolute pile of money. And then in the comics, Namor, who is the sort of main bad guy, he's the ruler of Atlantis, but for this movie they obviously changed the name to Talokan, basically to avoid any extra comparisons to Aquaman, which I think was a good choice. And then looking to the future for the MCU, there are negotiations underway for a third Black Panther film, which I would happily take because, yeah, I think Black Panther, especially this one, was easily at the very top of Phase 4. I think it falls only behind Spider-Man No Way Home. Like that was obvious. That's a clear and away top of Phase 4, but this one's easily second for me. Where would you rank it in the Phase 4 movies?
Yeah, I'd spot on. Like, Spider-Man's miles away from anyone. Like, I honestly thought Spider-Man's probably better than all, like, Endgame and the Avengers movies for me, just because it was just so good. So, yeah, like, this is definitely a second. But by no means that's a bad second. Like, it's just Spider-Man was just so good. So, yeah, definitely great movie. And, yeah, definitely looking forward to the next one.
Yep. And then, but before we get to this third Black Panther movie, if it does eventuate, we have the Ironheart Disney Plus series coming in late 2023. Are you excited to see more of the Riri Williams Ironheart character?
Yeah, I have an Iron Man tattoo, so it's nice to see an evolution of the Iron character, and then like Ironheart, like that suit was like badass, and she was so cool. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how that character develops for sure.
Yeah, her character was amazing. Like she had like really funny moments, but then also moments where you're like, she's cool, she can kick ass.
Yeah, she was a good teenager, but like a nerdy like teenager, and like had good like I don't know personality swag and stuff, and then like just went straight into it and was like, yeah, I'm badass. So definitely looking forward to seeing Ironheart evolve.
And then, so if people haven't watched it, I'm going to do a bit of a spoiler now. Shuri, obviously, they need a Black Panther. She ends up taking over the mantle as the Black Panther, and in doing so has like an encounter with Killmonger. I thought that was an incredible cameo, like perfectly placed. But in terms of Shuri and Riri, I love how they've kind of Shuri has moved into the Black Panther role, and they've brought Riri in, who is kind of what Shuri was in the first Black Panther movie. She's this young teenage tech prodigy, essentially.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much Black Panther covered well and truly. Definitely go out and check this one out. Like we said, second best MCU Phase 4 movie, and an incredibly fitting, touching tribute to Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
Before we transition into our second topic, which is going to be a very different change of pace, Jaxon has a new segment to introduce, which is Jackson's Monthly Comforts. What have you been checking out and enjoying recently?
Okay, I'm obsessed with watching Spanion, the internet personality on YouTube, go around and review food. There's this show called It's All Eats, and he has a new episode out every week. He's been to like the Hilton buffet. He's been to like try like best charcoal chicken in Sydney, best pies. Like I've been obsessed with Spanion for like a year or two now, and just see him eat food and stuff. And the worst part is he's been like 3 joints around my work in Newtown, and I'm like, I would have just missed him, but he's just, I never thought this hardened criminal who raps and like does everything could just go around and I'd be watching him eat food. Like he has like the best pies in Sydney, so he goes like 7-Eleven, and then he like works his way up, and then he goes like best charcoal chicken in Sydney, so he goes to like and then he goes to like Clem's, which is this place in Newtown. It's very like has like roast and gravy and stuff, and I never realised, I love Clem's, but I never realised how white it is there. He's like, I don't like this shit, like all they have is like gravy on the chips, like where's the garlic sauce and stuff, and just watching him is just and mate, like I've got another episode I got to watch after this. Like he goes and has like Sydney's biggest burger. Like he's insane. So like I really like him. And then over the past month, I watched She-Hulk in a day because my favourite Marvel character, I heard inklings of him being in it, and I didn't like it at first, but then I really enjoyed She-Hulk, so that was great. And then I watched The Bear in a day as well. I just haven't really been watching a lot of stuff.
Oh,
but then
how good is that show?
I want to make that sandwich. Sandwiches are my favourite food in the world. My friend Dave and I were having a Christmas party where we're getting photos with Santa, matching tattoos, we're giving each other awards, and I'm going to make that sandwich for us. Like, yum! So, big food focus, but yeah, no, that's, I guess, what I've kind of smashed out over the past month between life being so busy. But The Bear, whoa, what a show.
Yeah, that's probably the top show I've seen all year. It's so good.
Yeah, insane. And I've got White Lotus season 2 to start, but I can't watch an episode a week, so I'm waiting, patiently waiting.
Just letting it bank up a little bit before you dive in.
Yeah. I watched this other show actually recently called Reboot, which was pretty good actually. It was about like this show in the 90s that gets rebooted, and it was quite funny. Like HBO did it or something, and then they took the piss out of themselves. So that's
a very like timely show at the moment where everything just feels like a reboot or a remake or something.
Yeah, they were taking the piss out of it all. It was great, and I can't remember if it was like HBO or like one of the big TV production studios like made the show, and then they were taking the piss out of themselves about like rebooting like rom-coms and stuff from like the 90s. So that was I saw that on, I think it was on Disney. Yeah, it was on Disney. So that was a pretty good show I watched as well. So yeah, nice balance over the past month.
In terms of She-Hulk, where did you end up sort of landing with it? Did you enjoy it, or was it kind of just middle of the road?
It was the first 2 episodes I didn't like. Then it started picking up, and then when Daredevil came in, I was like, yeah, let's go! And then, like, I like the ending that it was just different to the normal endings, but if it didn't have Daredevil in it, I would not have liked it at all. But I just love that character so much. Like, some of the CGI in She-Hulk was pretty average, and it was good that they had like the Hulk in it, but I don't know, Daredevil just made it for me. Like, I cannot wait for that series whenever it comes out.
Yeah. What did you think of the new Daredevil suit? I was not a huge fan with the red and mustard.
Yeah, that was a bit weird. Like, the colour's a bit weird, but I don't know. I guess as they do in all Marvel stuff, people have to evolve, so they had to get a new suit. But like, as soon as you saw that she was going to the suit maker, because I thought he'd be in it, but as soon as she saw that she was going to the suit maker, I was like, Daredevil. So, and it was good. But I don't know, like, it wasn't the best suit I've seen, but you got to evolve like a Pokemon.
And I hated the ending of that season. Like, I get that it was different, but after watching, what was it, 9 episodes or something, it kind of just felt like a middle finger to me for watching this show. Like, you're an idiot. This meant nothing. Alrighty, we're back after bunch of tech hitches, but we're good to go. Diving into the second topic, what do you reckon, Jackson?
Blockbuster.
So yeah, Blockbuster, the Netflix workplace-based comedy series, pretty much, which is set in a Blockbuster store, which is apparently the final Blockbuster in the world. It follows Timothy, the manager of this Blockbuster store, as he basically does whatever it takes to keep his small business alive against seemingly insurmountable odds. The series premiered on Netflix on November 3rd with a 10-episode season of approximately 30-minute episodes. I hated this show, and normally I can find positives to push through and see a series to the end. This show, I could not do that. It sucked, and I gave up after 5.
Mate, you did better than me, but let me just say this. If it was a show about Video Easy, it would have been so much better.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Mate, give me an Aussie outback town, send me to Bathurst, Broken Hill. They got a Video Easy there. Actually, not Bathurst, like Broken Hill or somewhere else. They have a Video Easy there, some true blue Aussies. Every second word's a swear word. That would have been a show, rather than stupid Americans and stupid Blockbuster. I gave up after 2 episodes, and I had high hopes of this. I was thinking nostalgia, thinking back to like childhood, hiring video games, videos, $1 Wednesday, $1 Tuesday, cheap ass, tight ass Tuesdays, everything. Give me Video Easy. Blockbuster's crap. Video Easy any day. Horrible, horrible TV show. And you know me, I always, nah.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how bad this was. From the trailers, I was super excited for this. I thought it was, like you said, this is going to be like really fun, nostalgic ride with lots of silly comedy, but yeah, there was none of that. They didn't lean into the nostalgia factor at all, and the jokes were not good. It was just bad.
That's where they went wrong. If they would have lent in the nostalgia factor, it would have been so much better, but it just seemed like it was forced, and like, because there is a Blockbuster, I think it's in Oregon actually. There is one Blockbuster left, and people go there, and they have like merch and stuff, and they could have lent into the whole nostalgia, but it was just poo.
Yeah, like
Worse than
like you said, the last remaining Blockbuster is in Bend in Oregon. It's been the final remaining store since 2019, and yeah, I think what they do is they kind of just lean into the wacky craziness of we're the final like big chain video store, so we're just gonna basically kind of treat it like a tourist hotspot and nostalgia factory essentially. Like people just go there and look at all the old memorabilia and stuff like that, and I think that's what this show should have done. They probably should have went to that store and spent some time there and saw what made that store special. But from the looks of this, they didn't. They just basically went, oh, we're going to be the last Blockbuster store. And it feels like it's set in modern day rather than like when a Blockbuster store was like cool. They should have set it in the 90s when Blockbuster was the place to go on a Friday night to see what the new weekly releases were and pick them up and have a good time. But none of this worked for me at all.
No. Like, they could have even done like the Blockbuster, and then the ending of this show could have been when Netflix came, and then they could have evolved it into a show about Netflix and how Netflix went from renting DVDs in the post to a global phenomenon. Like, they literally, that was a whole timeline. They could have done it. They could have gone, opening Blockbuster, the highs, the lows, the end. Oh, let's roll into Netflix and then how good we are. But nope, they fucked up. That was a great idea for a TV show. Oh!
Yeah, like that's what I thought this was going to be. I thought it was going to be this kind of drama series with comedy elements talking about the rise and crazy fall of Blockbuster. Like, Netflix offered to buy them for a ridiculous amount. They said no, and now look at them. There's one store in the whole world left. Like, what have you done? Yeah. And yeah, this show just doesn't do any of that. The writing is crap and boring. The characters are boring and not very well acted. There was a good cast. Randall Park is great, but is not good in this show. Then like all the side characters are kind of just caricatures of people that you would maybe run into at a video store. There were two characters I did enjoy though. Carlos, played by Tyler Alvarez, who's like the young employee that is doing an accounting course but wants the dreams of being a director. And then his friend Hannah, played by Madeline Arthur. I thought their dynamic was pretty interesting and compelling, but not enough to make me want to watch the final 5 episodes of the show.
I agree. I mean, the final 8 for me, but yeah.
I just felt they tried too hard to be The Office, but in a Blockbuster store, and didn't do anything to set this show apart from any other like workplace comedy or do anything original at all. Like, it was just meh.
Yeah. Horrible. Don't even waste your time.
Yeah, don't. I wasted, 2.5 hours? Not worth it at all.
Bro,
and I tried so hard. I was just
like,
I tried so hard to find something good about this show, but apart from that dynamic between the two characters for maybe an episode and a half, nope.
Yeah.
And honestly, it should have been a sign for the creators when it was originally pitched as an NBC show and they turned it down, and then Netflix swooped in and picked it up. But yeah, if an NBC who produce a bunch of like serialized sitcom shows are like, no thanks, probably a sign that this isn't very good quality. Let's maybe dump it. And I would have hoped, like you said, that Netflix came in and reworked it and made it something more compelling that then they could spin into their own like promotional propaganda type piece, but nope. I think this one's going to die on the vine after one season.
Yeah. The only attention you should pay to this show is listening to us talk about it, and then that's it. Blockbuster, that's it.
Yep. I do miss going to the Blockbuster store on once a week or once every couple of weeks to see what all the new movies were and pick those up.
Oh yeah, we when I was growing up, there was a Video Easy and then there was a Blockbuster. They were like a couple of minutes walk from each other. So if you went to Video Easy and they didn't have what you wanted, like Scary Movie 1, you'd go out to Blockbuster and then see if they had it. And then if not, you would be upset. But yeah, it was good. I'd always go to Video Easy because it was the closest. But yeah. Go Video Easy, I miss you.
Yeah, I loved that, going in, seeing what the new movies were. You might find something that you hadn't heard of or weren't expecting to like grab your attention, or if you couldn't find a movie, they'd always have a game or something that you could pick up and play for a couple of days. It was the best. I loved it.
Nintendo 64. Yeah, man. Good times.
But now we've got Netflix and we just sit at home and never leave the house and do the exact same thing.
No, now we've got Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, Stan, KO Sports, Amazon, Paramount, and then you spend 8 hours deciding one thing to watch, and then it's bedtime, and you didn't watch anything. So, at least in the commentary booth is better.
Yeah, that's a massive issue. That's kind of the whole point of this podcast, to stop people doing that. Yeah, so that's pretty much everything for this week. I can't stretch out my Blockbuster talk any more than it sucked.
Nah, good.
In terms of your top recommendation for the week, pretty clear which one we're leaning towards here.
I mean, if you want, go to the movies, go see Black Panther. But if you're at home and you're just looking for something to watch, I know you've covered it, but The Bear for me. So I have two, just depending what you're doing with your life.
Yep. Yeah, for me, out of the two main topics for today, definitely Black Panther. Really enjoyable and really touching as well for those Chadwick Boseman tribute pieces. Alrighty, thank you everyone for listening to the commentary booth. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on podcast services and on YouTube. You can follow me on social media at JamRapsMedia and at Pario Magazine. And you can follow Jaxon on TikTok at Jax_Carr. Thanks for jumping on the show this week, Jaxon.
Thank you.
The Commentary Booth is a fan-funded production of Jamie Apps Media. You can support the podcast alongside our magazine, Pario Magazine, on Patreon at patreon.com/Jamie Apps Media. The following people supported at the publisher level or higher, and you cannot fathom how incredibly appreciative we are for their support.